Good morning, or evening, or nighttime, whatever it may be for you. I just finished my 4-day work week. I'm gonna go to sleep. Oh, we're starting off strong. I like it. No hesitation, like the Planet Fitness parking lot of doom. It's totally a viable option. Ooh, fancy shirt. Don't need to change my shirt. Let's not leave that. Okay, how does the car handle the zipper method? Ooh, shit. I'm not sure what happened. The car just gave up on me. It just was like, never mind. I don't know what to do. Please handle it. First intervention. Is it because it was beeping at me? Full self-driving popped up for a second and then it cancels. Stop. Drop. Shut them down. Open up shop. Get it. Come on. Full self-driving. It came back. And yes, don't forget, we got some real food. Still got some of that Chinese food left over from the mall. Could not join. Oh well. This wants us to supercharge in Lovelock. Because I'm trying to go for fuel mileage, I'm going to set it to the minimal lane changes for current drive. As soon as I set that, it immediately changes lanes, or signal to at least. Please don't change to the fast lane. The slow lane is perfectly fine, because there are jokers that want to get the hell out of Dodge here. Signaling to turn left, which it doesn't need to turn anywhere, but It wanted to get in the left lane for some reason. So here we are. Usually emergency lighting makes it freak out, but somehow it realizes that those are not emergency lights. It's funny is because it will pick up other lights sometimes on the highway and say slowing down for emergency lights. Like, what emergency lights? Then, you know, obviously hanging out in the left lane, gotta get past by people on the right lane. If anything, the car, in my opinion, should be in the right lane because we need to turn right at the light. Once again, Daniel O'Dowd, that's just my personal preference. Maybe the car knew that that guy was going to slow down because he saw the police officer over there and thought, maybe I better slow down. But now I need to figure out how to get over. Whereas I would have just already been in the right lane this whole time. Personal preference. No need to intervene. I would like to know what went on in the AI computer brain at that intersection there, back there at work. It needed to turn left. There was traffic. The car had left an opening for us to get in there, where there was no place for us to go once we got in there. And the car was just like, threw up his hands. Your turn. Take over immediately. It's crazy because it started out so confident out of the parking lot, as opposed to how scared it is at the parking lot of Planet Fitness. Probably because I've scolded it so many times. I have repeatedly taken it out of full self-driving in the Planet Fitness parking lot as soon as it starts to go towards those stupid speed bumps. The mega speed bumps. I got 4 days off. Yay. Got me my diet slushy. Apparently, one of the slushy machines is more ice than lemonade. The crystals are bigger or something. Comes out thicker and it tastes a lot more watery. Kind of funny to see other people at work wearing like winter coats and stuff. Apparently we did get a light dusting of snow around here in the mountains. It was like 39 degrees or something. And I'm still walking out of there with my just basic uniform, no coat. It's nice to get into a nice warm car though. Cool. I don't really want to supercharge in Lovelock. Let's see if we can make it home without supercharge. says that we'll need to stop and charge because at this rate, in 2 hours and 22 minutes, we'll be home with negative 1% charge. It's just a current estimate of our current energy usages. So if I ever find up this semi I want to follow, maybe I can do some better fuel mileage. Turn that -1 to like a +2 or something. Actually increased to -2 now. So the thing is, that's to get all the way home. I don't need to get all the way home. I just want to get to Winnamucca because they got a free level 2 charger. I would rather get my energy for free. I like that price. We got a team building event going on Tuesday. Everybody's welcome to attend. Reno X Throwing Bar. It's a bar that you can throw axes at. You do it from 5 to 9, maybe 5 to 11. Depends who wants to stay, I guess. drag me out. Go ahead, drag me out. I'm sorry. You hey, man, don't get about hey! Really?
This just happened in East Virginia. An innocent couple was just trying to get to work. They were pulled over by a police officer for going allegedly left of center. The officer wrote a warning ticket and then demanded that they step out of the car. After that traffic stop was over, when the passenger refused, he was maced and pulled out of the car. Can police officers order you out of the car even after the ticket or warning has been written and delivered? I'll explain why this police officer does not understand Supreme Court case law as well as he thinks that he does. Also, I'll show you something really shocking that this officer posted to social media several days after this occurred. This is footage that was recently recorded out of Bellington, West Virginia, which is in Barber County, West Virginia, involving a guy named Vince and his longtime significant other. So Vince was a passenger in a vehicle. His significant other was driving him to work. He works as a nurse, I believe, at a nursing home. And he really had to get there because the next shift was starting. They needed him. So it was a big hassle to get pulled over in this tiny town. On the way to work, he's going to be late. So the reason for the stop was left of center. The traffic stop went fine, really. They gave the information and a warning was actually physically issued. So the stop was over. But then the officer says, now I want you both to get out of the vehicle. And he had to get to work. So he begins to then say, well, why do you need this to get out of the vehicle? And at that point, Vince picks up his phone. He starts filming. But I have the actual police report here. Let me read you what the officer says happened first, and then you can watch the video. So according to the officer, Deputy Christian Mail with the Barber County, West Virginia Sheriff's Office, he says, and on June 2nd, 2024 at 1912 hours, I observed a dark in color Volkswagen Jetta commit a left of center violation. I initiated a traffic stop on the described vehicle in front of Hometown Pizzeria. I made contact with the occupants, later identified as blah, blah, blah. While on the initial contact, I observed both occupants to be extremely nervous, the driver's hands to be shaking fast, and the driver's hands to be extremely swollen, which is consistent with the overuse of injecting controlled substances. I inquired for the driver's documentation because she was the operator of the vehicle. She provided all documentation to this officer. I then verified the documents and returned them to her. I issued her a verbal warning for the traffic infraction and entered a secondary investigation. I inquired both subjects to exit the vehicle. Both subjects refused. Let's take a look at the footage.
So why do I need to step out of this vehicle?
Because there's a Supreme Court case ruling called Pennsylvania v. Mims that a law enforcement officer can give you a lawful directive to exit the vehicle. And if you
under what circumstances? For driving left of center?
If you do not comply,
no, you have no probable cause for me to exit this vehicle. You have no probable cause for me to exit this vehicle, Officer Mail, and you know it. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Okay, before we go any further, let's address Pennsylvania versus Mims. This comes up a lot in police interaction videos because Pennsylvania Mims is a Supreme Court case from 1977. It's often cited for the right of police officers, if there is such a thing, to order people out of the car during a traffic stop, even though it only really applied to the driver in 1977. But I think this is overused in police training just to teach police officers that they can order anyone out of the car just for any reason. And that's not what Pennsylvania versus Mims held. And that's not how Pennsylvania versus Mims has been interpreted by the Fourth Circuit, which governs the federal case law here in West Virginia where this incident occurred. So let's make sure we're all on the same page about what Pennsylvania versus Mims is and what it does not do. So it all started with Terry versus Ohio, where a police officer then was able to basically stop and frisk somebody who's just walking down the sidewalk. The Supreme Court applied that same principle to a vehicle stop in Pennsylvania versus Mims in 1977. The court adopted the standard that an officer can frisk a validly stopped person if the officer reasonably believes that the person is armed and dangerous. So the Supreme Court applied Terry to circumstances of a motor vehicle stop in Mims, where an officer in Mims, after making a routine traffic stop, noticed a large bulge under the defendant's jacket and therefore conducted a frisk. The Mims court explained that the bulge in the jacket permitted the officer to conclude that Mr. Mims was armed and thus posed a serious and present danger to the safety of the police officer, adding that in these circumstances, any man of reasonable caution would likely have conducted the pat-down. The only evidence there of Mims's dangerousness was this bulge indicating that he may be armed. It was thus Mims' status of being armed during this forced police encounter, i.e. traffic stop, that posed this danger that justified Mims being frisked. So in short, established Supreme Court law imposes two requirements for police officers to frisk somebody at a traffic stop. First, that the officer has conducted a lawful stop. That could be a Terry stop on the street, as well as a traffic stop. And secondly, that during the valid but forced encounter, that the officer must reasonably suspect that the person is armed and therefore dangerous. In both Terry and Mims, the Supreme Court deliberately linked armed and dangerous, recognizing that the frisks in those cases were lawful only because the stops were valid and the police officer reasonably believed that the person stopped was armed and thus dangerous. When Pennsylvania versus Mims is used as justification for bringing drivers out of a car, in order for that to be lawful, for that to be justified, those two elements must be met. One, it has to be a lawful stop. And secondly, there has to be some objectively reasonable information to the officer that the occupant may be armed and thus dangerous and needs to be frisked, patted down to see if he has weapons for officer safety. Now, I read you the report. Let's watch the rest of the footage and see if any of those elements are met here.
Hey, so if you want, hey, go ahead, drag me out. Go ahead and drag me out. Hey, no, officer, I'm telling you, you have no right to drag me out of this car. You cannot just do that. You cannot just do that.
Get out of the vehicle.
Over for left and center. No, I'm not stepping out of the vehicle until you give me a reason.
Okay, bud.
You want to give me a reason, then I will. No, that's a bunch of shit, and you know it, Officer Mail. I'm calling my turn. You can arrest. Hey, no, you ain't about. Hey, now you're gonna mace me? Really, really, guy? I'm not attacking you. I'm not doing anything to you, and you mace me?
Yeah.
What'd you call me, a motherfucker? I'm not getting out of shit until he tells me why.
What you told him,
Get out of the car. No. Not until he tells me why I need to exit the vehicle.
Because that's the law.
No, it is not the law. No, it is not.
Shut up.
Hey, don't tell her to shut up.
So there you have it. That's the end of the video. Violence was used, physical force was used, injuries were caused, criminal charges were filed against both individuals. Those criminal charges are still pending. Turning back to the police report, it says this officer inquired both subjects to exit the vehicle. Both subjects refused. This officer advised the subjects of U.S. Supreme Court case law, Pennsylvania versus Mims, in order to better explain why this officer was requesting the occupants to exit the vehicle. Well, Pennsylvania versus Mims, as I explained, requires a lawful stop, number one. And secondly, it requires some objectively reasonable belief that the individual may be armed and therefore dangerous. So it's not just you can order somebody out of the car because they have to respect your authority and you're allowed to do that. It has to be based on a legitimate and objective concern for officer safety because, for instance, I observed a bulge. There were no facts alleged in the police report which brought forth any officer safety concern. The only facts that were alleged had to do with his drug investigation. So he says that both occupants appear to be extremely nervous and that the driver's hands were shaking and the driver's hands were extremely swollen, which he believed was consistent with the overuse of injecting controlled substances. So that's it. There are no allegations that there was officer safety concerns because the individual may be armed. And you can see from Googling this officer that he's one of these drug interdiction guys. He's got a canine which he uses to sniff around vehicles. And it was later revealed during the arrest processing that he wanted them out of the vehicle because he was going to run his canine around the vehicle. So what Pennsylvania versus Mims does not do is allow a police officer, especially after the stop has already ended, to just order people out of their vehicle so he can run his canine around the vehicle and perform a drug investigation, especially where the original stop was for going left of center, and that stop ended. Now let's look at that. Again, Pennsylvania versus Mims has the first requirement requires a lawful stop. The stop here was due to going left of center. Prior to even mentioning Pennsylvania versus Mims or ordering them out of the vehicle, that stop ended because he wrote a warning citation, he admits in the police report, and delivered it to the driver before he ever ordered them out of the vehicle. He wrote that he then entered a secondary investigation. Can he do that? Here we can look at the controlling Fourth Circuit case law, and there's a lot on this topic. If a traffic stop is extended in time beyond the period that the officers are completing the tasks related to the traffic infractions, i.e. left of center, the officers must either obtain consent from the individuals detained or identify reasonable suspicion of criminal activity to support the extension of the stop. The authority for the seizure ends when tasks tied to the traffic infraction are, or reasonably should have been, completed. The Supreme Court has said that extending a stop by even a de minimis, very small amount, length of time violates the Fourth Amendment. That's the Rodriguez case. An officer may engage in certain safety measures during a traffic stop, but generally must focus his attention on the initial basis for the stop. An officer may engage in ordinary inquiries related to the traffic stop, such as inspecting a driver's identification, verifying the registration, verifying the insurance coverage, determining whether the driver is subject to any warrants. And while diligently pursuing the purpose of the traffic stop, officers also may engage in other investigative techniques unrelated to the underlying traffic infraction or the safety of the officers. But such unrelated activity is permitted under the Fourth Amendment only so long as that activity does not prolong the roadside detention for the traffic infraction. The Fourth Circuit writes, for example, an officer may question the occupants of a car on unrelated topics without impermissibly expanding the scope of a traffic stop. An officer may also engage a canine unit to conduct a dog sniff around the vehicle during a lawful traffic stop in an attempt to identify possible narcotics. However, again, Fourth Circuit, controlling case law here, because such a sniff or investigative questioning is intended to detect ordinary criminal wrongdoing, these actions may not prolong the duration of the traffic stop, absent the consent of those detained or reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. Here, the officer admits in his police report that the traffic stop related to going left of center was over. Therefore, he either needed the consent of the individuals, which clearly he did not have, as demonstrated by this video footage, or he needed independent reasonable suspicion to detain these folks based on suspicion of criminal wrongdoing. Here, he's suspecting a drug use. Perhaps if he had pulled his canine out and had the dog sniff the car during the ordinary procedures of the traffic stop he was engaged in, that combined with what he allegedly saw, perhaps could be enough to take it further in a drug investigation. But he chose to wait until after his initial traffic stop was over to then begin his drug investigation. The problem was the individuals were no longer legally detained pursuant to that traffic stop, and he didn't have enough reasonable suspicion or probable cause for any sort of drug investigation to then further detain them or detain them again for a drug investigation. And they had no drugs. The only drugs that were found in the car were the lawfully prescribed prescription medications that this nurse was taking to work with him that he takes every day. Of course, he was still charged with that because they weren't in their original pill bottles, but they were in his pocket or something. I don't know. So these people were not free to leave. They were ordered out of their car. Pennsylvania versus Mims was used as justification to order them out of the car. However, there was no lawful stop, and there was no indication that the individuals were armed and therefore dangerous. Therefore, it does not fall under Pennsylvania versus Mims anyways. And none of that justifies violence being used to pull these innocent citizens, just trying to get to work, out of their car, for which this officer bragged on Facebook in a post that I believe now has been taken down. This is what he said. Just several days afterwards, this was put up on Facebook, I believe is what prompted this. It put up on Facebook, it got like 40,000 views or something locally, and people were discussing it. And people were upset. Others were coming to the defense of the police officer, saying one should always comply when given instructions or orders by a police officer. So this officer, Christian male, put a Facebook post up saying, forever striving to be the most protective, dangerous, and kind-hearted version of myself for my family. Then that was later taken down, apparently. And looking at his publicly available Facebook stuff, I think we get an idea of why this really happened. This is really a case of respect my authority, and it's sort of him losing his temper and going on a power trip here. A lot of police officers are into steroids. And I only say that in regards to this case because if you look at the last post on his Facebook page, it says, feeling anabolic this evening, get better, or GTFO. And then he's standing there with like his gym buddy in the gym, and he's holding a gallon jug of water. Now, I've spent a lot of time in the gym. I was a college football player. I have been an amateur strongman competitor. I spent much of my life in the gym. So that's him on June 7th of this year, just a few days ago. I mean, compare that to the picture of him with his dog in May of last year. He's gotten much bigger. He said he's feeling anabolic. Does that mean he's taking illegal steroids? I had to be tested in college football. Do we not test police officers? Has he been tested? Should he be tested? After putting that up on Facebook. After all, he's interacting with the public. Look how he went 0 to 11 dealing with these just two innocent people trying to get to work in a nursing home. Why would it not be a good idea to have your police officers using steroids? Well, they might fly off the handle 0 to 11 when interacting with the public.
No, you don't.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
Instead of just saying, well, here's why I would like you to step out of the car because I want to run my drug dog around your car. Do you have any drugs in the vehicle? Hell, he didn't even ask Vince for his ID. Just went 0 to 11, very immature, very, very roid ragey. I suspect that there are other incidents out there. If you have other incidents you're aware of, other video footage involving this officer or this department, please send them my way. I'll definitely be investigating further and do an update video when the body cam footage is released. Because there's a criminal case, and I'm not his lawyer or anything. I don't even know who his lawyer is. They're not going to release the body cam footage except to the lawyer. So perhaps we'll get it at some point, and I'll do an update video, and that will have additional information for sure. Please subscribe at thecivilrightslawyer.com. If you have a video you want me to review, use the submission link below. Remember, our rights don't end where your fear begins. Freedom is scary. Deal with it.
Until Derek Chauvin murdered that dude, George Floyd, people were not being held accountable. Cops were
That's not true.
being held accountable.
That's not true.
It's not a false statement.
It
It's
absolutely
happening.
is.
That's
You're
my
telling
point.
me there's police officers before Derek Chauvin had no accountability?
Very little.
No.
Very little.
Wrong.
Very little
Wrong.
accountability.
Wrong. I'm Kevin Donaldson, a retired police officer from New Jersey, and today I'm surrounded by 20 criminals. My first claim is that cops only use lethal force as a last resort.
Bullshit.
So I don't know how many times I've seen, instead of them try to de-escalate the situation, they just pull out their gun. They maybe say a couple commands, and if things don't go their way, they use a weapon. I just saw a video where some lady was picking up some boiling water. She's obviously not okay in the head, and the cop took it upon himself to threaten lethal force, and the woman, like I said, wasn't all the way there. She threatened to use the scalding water to throw it on him, and he just immediately shot her.
Do you want me to tell you the parts of that video that were wrong?
I'd like to hear your say, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the cop was 100% wrong on that one. From what I've seen, But we also got to remember, there's always more to the story than you see on video. Those of you out here, Rodney King, okay? Rodney King, there was a lot of footage there where Rodney King, who's 6'7", who is high on PCP, who led the police on a chase, and he won't stop, he won't follow commands. So there's more to that story. This one, unfortunately, from what I've seen, that cop is 100% wrong, and I will call that cop out. That woman was too far away. She had boiling water, and she said something about, in the name of Jesus, I bless you, or something like that. Because most
is
people,
that not using lethal force when it wasn't necessary?
Yes.
Yeah. So that just defeats the whole.
Yes.
The whole
I agree with
conversation.
you. I actually agree with you. The only time you can use lethal force is when your life or somebody else's life is in imminent threat of death or serious bodily harm. His life doesn't meet that criteria.
Yeah, there's always gray area. Like, for example, do you remember that one time that some lady, lady cop, she went to pull some guy out of the car? Instead of grabbing her taser, she used her gun?
Well, the threat level on a woman going against a guy, say if there's a 5-foot woman going against...
Did she not use lethal force when it wasn't necessary?
But her threat level is different.
She was trying to use her taser, and she ended up using her gun.
Well,
so
I was in an era before tasers, so I can't speak to that. However, a woman's threat level is different than a man's threat level.
Yeah, but that's your experience. But I mean, we're talking about facts here. Facts are she went and used her gun instead of using her taser. So
I didn't see the video, so I'm trying to go on what you're telling me. But I am telling you there is a force continuum. There is constructive authority.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Well, crazy thing about it, you just went back on your statement right now by saying that he shouldn't have shot her. In the original statement, you said cops don't use lethal force until they have to. But then you said that was the case where you shouldn't have used lethal force, and you did. There's plenty of cases, I'm sure you've seen them, where cops use lethal force and they shouldn't have. I get it. Sometimes they may be scared for their lives, even though the situation doesn't deem it for them to be scared for their lives. Sometimes they are. But I feel like that's all in training. Now, that's where training should be more, because there's lots of cops that are just so jittery and so trigger happy when they shouldn't be, when people are just doing regular things.
You're 100% correct, my friend. You're 100% correct. I've been saying this for years, that every cop should be at least a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. It's going to do two things. It's going to allow you to be able to handle yourself, but it's also going to be the confidence that's instilled within you in order to be able to handle yourself. The vast majority only use lethal force as a last resort. But there are occasions where, let's face it, there are certain people that should never be cops. I'll be the first one to tell you that. They got shoved in lockers in schools. They have a complex about them. Trust me, the cops who should be cops know exactly who those people are. They have a God complex, and they should have never got that job. So I'll be the first one to tell you that.
And the thing is, once something happens where that cop that should have never had that job shows they should never have that job, a lot of times they never get fired. And if they do get fired, they can somehow just go to a different department and still work. And I'm not sure if that's true, but from what I've heard accounts, people can, let's say, get fired from one county, go to the next. Even though he has history of going to black and brown people and discriminating them, he still can have work. Or he can be paid leave. Paid leave is crazy to me, because you can shoot somebody who then get paid just to sit at home. That's crazy to me, but what do you think on that? What do you think that's something that should happen?
So that particular cop you're talking about, that video, he's in 6 different departments. That should be red flag number 1.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't just keep hopping departments. There's obviously a problem there. Paid leave, something different. You sign a contract on this particular job, and that contract states that you are working until you either retire or you're terminated. So paid leave is you're basically out on an injury. I was out on an injury because there are wounds beyond gunshot wounds that will screw you up way worse than being shot. Trust me.
Might as well raise our flag. This is too much talking, bro. Thank you.
All right, bro.
I come from the city of East Los Angeles. Police officers are shooting him in the back. A kid who I trained as a little boxer took a swing at an officer, yes, took off running and has 4 gunshots in his back. And then other videos are coming out, shot in the back, so they don't have to run after them.
Okay, and what happened to that officer who shot the gentleman in the back?
on paid leave.
Okay, pending investigation. If he truly shot that person in the back, and with all the cameras around here, the truth will come out. If he truly shot that person in the back, he's going to jail. He's giving up his freedom. All right? You cannot shoot somebody in the back. The only time I've ever seen that pass grand jury is when somebody had a gun shooting back at him like this. It's the only time I've ever seen that.
So why does it continue? I mean, why does it? Why? There's too many cases. Whether it be East Los Angeles, whether it be everything, and it's not just beating, it's you guys are shooting them in the back.
We're not all police shootings happen in the back. It does happen, but not all. You're generalizing again. You can't say all police shootings happen in the back.
Enough that it's causing attention to us, is bringing attention. If something is not serious, it doesn't bring attention. But obviously, this debate is happening because it is happening. If we don't admit there's a problem, how can we fix a problem?
If a police officer shoots somebody in the back without probable cause, without justification, they are going to jail. They are losing their job, their family gets embarrassed, and they are spending the rest of their life in prison.
Here's what it is. We have to take it to civil court because law...
So, how do you feel about qualified immunity?
Qualified immunity, you're talking about a police officer being indemnified for their crimes, but can you give me an example so I can defend it a little bit better?
I started off with that because I feel like some officers, even though they might not want to like shoot, I feel like nobody wants to kill nobody, right? That's like the last option. But I feel like they can like get away with it because of these protections that they have.
So the best of my knowledge, qualified immunity was taken away. It was taken away quite some time ago for good cause. Nobody, including police officers, is above the law. You can't just go out and kill people. Have they done it? 100%. Steve Caracata and Lou Eppolito were mob hitmen for the NYPD for years. But guess what? The law eventually caught up to them. It just took too long. Qualified immunity, it should have been something that's never there because police are held to a higher standard than everybody else.
Are they?
Absolutely. So, gentleman prior to you said the young man took a swing at a police officer. Well, what happened if this police officer just went up to somebody and took a swing at them? They're going to lose their job. Now, the person who took a swing at them, yeah, he might spend the night in jail if he gets caught. But other than that, there's really no real consequences.
I'm just saying though, like they have these protections and they have these resources for them. Like most like investigations, you said something about paid leave, right? And there's an investigation. How many times is that investigation from like an outside agency versus like the department? You know,
in New Jersey, every time.
So it's internal, right?
No, it's every time it's an outside agency.
Right, but would you say that's like the standard for everywhere else? You know,
most of the time it is.
Most cops, so they get away with it because of like they make excuses. Like even in the case recently where like the lady with the boiling water, she threw it towards the cop. That was wrong. Everybody knows it was wrong. But then there's still people trying to fight and defend that. So you can't say that they don't have protection, you know?
Well, of course they have protection. They you know, every defense attorney is hired by their client, even though their client might be guilty as hell. Every defense attorney has a duty to defend their client, whether it's a union attorney or whether it's a private attorney, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to protect their client.
And then that works out then.
But internal investigation, they will go harder on you. My very good friend was under indictment for murder for 15 weeks, even though everything was on video and it was a totally clean shoot. Totally clean shoot. Proven. Still 15 weeks with a murder indictment hanging over his head. So there's really not qualified immunity. The oversight over top of police shootings is so much more than everybody sees.
Thanks.
So on that same topic, I believe Sonia, bless her soul, because that was pretty bad. So this is what I heard. He got 2 DUIs, he was transferred, and the guy that was responsible for him, the sergeant, said he didn't do his due diligence and do what he was supposed to make sure that he was supposed to be on that department. That's a problem. And then the other problem is, why didn't the officer pull his gun on him and tell him, hey, dude, chill? They knew that that lady had schizophrenic tendencies, and the mom even asked, she said, can you send somebody that will de-escalate? And they sent a hothead over there. And that guy didn't take no responsibility. And you see how that doesn't help your standpoints when you're trying to make a difference. And then this guy won't take responsibility. And then that other cop there too, he didn't even say nothing. So I'm like, what would you do in that situation if an officer was, because you knew that was wrong, right?
Absolutely. This is why I say it again. I've probably said it a dozen more times. Nobody hates a bad cop worse than a good cop, because what that guy did looks bad on everybody. Okay, now everybody has to bear the brunt of his poor decision. That sergeant who was there, or the other officer who was there on scene, he has to live with the fact that he did not act. Trust me when I tell you, the punishment for that crime will go far beyond what the media is going to say. It'll go far beyond what you think and what everybody in this room thinks. He's got that woman's soul on his heart for the rest of his life.
I agree.
That is, and there was a second part of your question which escapes me.
The guy that's in charge of putting that deputy in that department said he didn't know about his past. I believe I heard the statement, and he's like, well, I didn't know. What kind of answer is that?
That is not an answer. It's not an acceptable answer. Police are held to a higher standard, which we should be held to a higher standard. Okay, they need to do their due diligence on who they're bringing in, because that police officer has an enormous amount of responsibility as soon as they hit the street.
And he said it with so much desensitized attitude. I'm sorry, but like, I've met good and bad. And that was kind of like, bro, you're giving more fuel to this whole argument. If there's good cop, bad cop, we don't see it when we see that. And the media loves to bring that up, which they do. It's because now we have all the technology now. We can see everything.
Sorry to cut you off, but if you look at the George Floyd thing, okay, the officers that were standing around, they lost their job for failure to act. The failure to act.
If I was in a murder, if I was in a car with a murder, would I not be charged in that murder?
You will be charged as an accessory. And I believe they were charged. I do believe they were charged. Now, I have been in situations where, one in particular, where there's a car chase, everybody's adrenaline's ripping, and everybody in this room who's had their adrenaline ripping, it's hard to dial it down.
Yeah, of course.
I watched them rip this guy out of the car and slam him to the pavement once they got him. And you know what I did? You know, and you can hear it on camera. There's actual proof of this. I slapped cuffs on this guy, and I said, he's cuffed. It's over.
Okay.
All right? Because I knew this guy was going to get it. Because their adrenaline was high. He rammed the police car. There was a whole bunch of other things involved there. I have a duty to protect those who can't protect themselves. First person I protect, I'm not going to bullshit you here. First person I protect is myself. But beyond that, I am willing to be my brother's keeper. So once he's in custody, he is my brother. I am his keeper. All right? And I am responsible for his safety. If he dies in my custody, it's on me. So that other officer, getting back to the video, that other officer, he's got to live with that. He's got to live with that. But again, police officers are human beings.
Yeah, agree.
Humans are flawed. Humans are fallible.
Do you think there's something that we have to break inside the police system about that? It's code, right?
No, it's not code.
You guys don't have code?
What do you mean? You talking about the thin blue line?
I don't know. I would assume you had code, but I appreciate it.
Hi, sweating, yo.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Since there's only a minute left, I just wanted to bring up something you said, like, oh, if a kid that was like shoved in lockers becomes a police officer, like he has an agenda. Like, don't you think there should be more like scanning or training done in order to become an officer?
How would you do that?
I mean, like other jobs, like there's so much more training and like, yeah.
In other jobs, there's much less training than police officers.
But there's not enough.
There's no way.
If there's these people that are coming through that have an agenda that are going to just shoot someone based off.
So they haven't invented mind reading
psychologically.
We have to go through psychological examinations. Okay, until we develop that mind reading tool, these people are going to slip through the cracks. It's a fact of life. There are people who just shouldn't be police officers.
You don't think that there could be more to scan people?
How?
I don't know, but I just feel like
that's the big question is how, because we go through multiple psychological exams, we go through the Wonderlic test, the MMPI, which are 500 question tests apiece, extensive psychological backgrounds. So beyond that, what do you do? There's no way to tell. It's unfortunate, but guess what? Those cops who know those guys, who can see those guys that got shoved in lockers, they know. They know.
Okay, good. Bye.
Hey there. I know trying to find a middle ground during a passionate debate can be a bit frustrating, and honestly, it seems like we're just circling the same points. right? Because when it comes to unexpected, like a serious accident, there's no debating the need. That's what Morgan Morgan is. No matter who you are and what you believe in, America's largest injury law firm is always under client side. Morgan & Morgan specializes in a wide range of personal injury cases and have won thousands of big cases. Just recently, Morgan & Morgan has secured verdicts of $12 million in Florida, $26 million. That's 40 times the highest insurance offer. I'm telling you, the best part? It's all free unless you with your case. And working with them is all done from your phone without the need to visit any offices. If you've also been a victim of a personal injury or any other serious accident, you can visit www.floydpeak.com/Jubilee. Found in the description below to start your free claim today. Thanks to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this portion of the episode. Now let's get back to it.
Most cops are selfless and honorable people.
No, I don't think these cops are honorable at all. I think they're just a bunch of cowboys, you know, and we're just the cattle and they're just out here to herd us into jail and that's it. You know, we need people to help us, not act like thugs. They're the thugs. To us, they're the scary monsters.
So
you know?
why wouldn't somebody like yourself who has those views take on that responsibility to change that system?
I did. You know, when I was a kid, I would always say I want to be a cop or a movie star. Cops made me who I am by the way I live. I felt like I was a criminal because of the way they acted towards me, you know, until one day I realized, you know, I'm not the bad guy.
Something you don't know about me. I grew up in a neighborhood full of criminals. When I was younger, I stole everything I could get my hands on. And then one day, the light clicked on because of a police officer. He came up to me and he said, "What are you doing? What are you doing with your life?" And I watched that police officer take a young kid with that one statement, that one simple statement, and change me around to want to go the other direction.
It goes back to what I was saying. We need more cops like that will steer us the right way.
And that's why I challenge you, and I challenge everybody in this room. I challenge you to teach your children. It might be too late for all of us.
I'm doing that just by being here.
Challenge your children to take on that debt, to take on that weight. If you see the system as being broken and you stand by and you're silent, you're complicit. We teach the next generation, no, you need to go into this because you need to change it.
Either teach the next generation or teach the cops.
Yeah. Well, the cops right now, some of them, that's going to be a difficult task. Okay.
The solution will be to just teach the cops better training and teach these kids
what kind of training would you give them?
Mental training. They need a lot of that. You said they need more training in jiu-jitsu, which I do believe, yeah, you're 100% right, but also the mental training.
I'm in agreement with you there because the mental stresses of this job are why they're getting super aggressive on the street. A lot of it, not all of it, are why they're getting super aggressive. So we are all victims to becoming what we see. Police see.
No, we're the victims. So you guys are.
Well, no, everybody. I'm talking about everybody is a victim of what they see. If you saw death and horror, nobody's calling the cops because their kid graduated high school.
But you try and twist this around, but yeah, the cops do victimize a lot of us. You know, they make us think that we're just evil people all the time, and so you're not honorable.
But you're victimizing the cops in much the same way. You're doing the same thing.
A job like that is any honorable, like shooting people in the back and having your colleagues like get away
cops
with
don't
it,
shoot people in the back.
They
go to jail if they shoot people in the jail.
But there's no honor in being a cop. There isn't.
There is a lot of honor in being a cop.
You can't give any man any power like that, and them not abuse it.
When you're willing to give your life for somebody who you don't know, who hates you, when you're willing to do that, that's honor.
I think they do it for fun, honestly.
No, nobody's willing to give their life for fun.
That's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah. I think a more selfless and honorable career would probably be social workers. So, rooted in violence and power. I mean, if you want to help people, try go to policing.
They've tried to make social workers first responders. It doesn't work. Because a social worker is going to take 2 or 3 days to show up to a domestic dispute. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. They might be coming in as a secondary response, as a second responder. The first responders are your soldiers. They're your frontline soldiers.
Why do we need soldiers in our own country? We're supposed to be united.
Okay, just all you got to do is tell the criminals to stop doing crime.
Okay.
Right, so if you can get the criminals to stop doing crime, we can get rid of this.
This is true. Okay.
2 birds with 1 stone.
Thank you.
So I have a personal story actually. I'm from like the North San Diego area, and a friend of mine, she was actually trying to be a sheriff with the San Diego Sheriff's Department. And she told me a story how like when she was going through the academy and stuff, how her instructors, her peers, she was dealing with like a lot of sexual harassment. So when you tell me that all officers are most are selfless and honorable, how do we tell the difference between those people and the people who were harassing my friend and countless other female officers and maybe even male officers too? I don't know. So I did serve at one point. I was in the Army, so I know like it happens.
You know about morale here.
I do, but I know like it happens, you know, and you gotta check your people. So you can tell me that all cops, or most cops, right, are just these honorable and selfless people. Like, what do you say about that?
So you're talking about specifically with sexual harassment. Female officers are so essential to police departments now, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want to have to. I can't go search a female, so we need those female officers to do that stuff. Most female officers I know are dynamite at what they do. They are way tougher than I am. So here's the big problem with sexual harassment. I'm going to tell you what happens. You're in a highly male-dominated field. The female police officers, they feel like they need to be one of the boys, so they start engaging in conversation that is not applicable or not appropriate for the workplace. And then what happens? The other officers give it back. Somebody gets pissed off. Next thing you know, there's sexual harassment. In the police academy, it's kind of a different thing. These are
how's it different?
Because these are young. I'm not saying it's right.
It isn't right, but these are the instructors who have years of experience teaching these people.
Oh, I was talking specifically about the other recruits. Okay, the instructors, no, that's never okay. The world is not a perfect place.
I know it isn't, but it sets a bad example. You know, like a lot of people don't want to get in there and be officers, let alone serve or do anything for their country because of stuff like that. And it's really prevalent in police departments, I feel like, because just from the example I told you about how my friend, how she dealt with that.
So like I had said earlier, somebody like your friend sees a problem in there. Now if she's on the inside, it's her
But she feels like she can't speak up because like she's going to get retaliated against.
Have her call me up and teach her how to use her voice. It's very loud.
I understand that, but it's not that simple for most people. So you can see like most officers on the outside, like I don't know you, I assume like you're a good person, but then we don't know most days we don't know like how an officer's going to treat like a female or like another male or something. Like
it's just like any other job. Okay, just like
so when I go in and order a pizza, I'm more likely to get harassed or like profiled or you treated differently for ordering pizza.
No.
So it's
go into a corporate office setting. Sexual harassment has run rampant over the years.
Yeah, but there's no
go into Hollywood.
You don't get shot for it. You don't get
She didn't get shot for it.
Well, she didn't, but like it's the thing. Like your career can end, but the stakes are higher with police officers because of what you guys can do. Like and your training.
Now think about it from a male's perspective. If I see a female getting harassed, first of all, it's my duty to speak up, correct? And I would speak up, and I have spoken up. But think about most male police officers. If they speak up, they're going to be ostracized. They're going to be a pariah.
You guys have like a system in place then for like representatives that can go, like these females or males or whoever, can go and talk and say like, hey, I'm being harassed against, or is it really internal?
Yes.
Is it an internal thing, internal investigation, the same thing?
I believe there's a couple different, I can't speak to every place in the country, but I believe there's internal policies in place where they can follow.
That's cool. I appreciate you being here. My guess is you're probably a reasonable cop, because most unreasonable cops probably wouldn't have come out here. So I appreciate you here to try to help change, because that's why I'm here as well. You talk about the majority of cops being honorable, selfless people. Why are we seeing so many incidences over and over and over on the news daily across the country? Why do we see so many examples if it is just such a few bad apples?
Because a cop going and saving a 2-year-old with CPR.
But on the news.
Not on a national level. A cop going and helping an old lady in with her groceries, that is not newsworthy. Those are the majority of the calls. But what is newsworthy is that cop who does something they're not supposed to, and it's boom. This is what every station in the world covers. They do not cover 99.99999% of what police do, but they'll cover that 0.0001% of what police do, especially when it's wrong. That's all you're seeing. You're being fed that information.
Well, we're seeing a ton of it. So if there's just
Not a
few,
ton.
we are every single day. We are seeing it on the news every day.
So there's
there can't be a few bad apples.
So there's approximately 700,000 police officers. You're seeing the 0.001, which is still a lot. Say it's 70. It's still a lot, right?
It's more than we should have.
It's still a lot. But I want to hear any other profession in the world where you're being judged on that 0.00001.
This profession is different. You guys have weapons. You guys are in a position of power. You guys are doing things that normal jobs, maybe, I can't categorize the office guys. Oh, they're shitty office guys. I don't care if they're shitty office guys. You have a different role. You're there to protect and serve our communities. So I don't buy the small, bad apple theory. From my experience, it was the majority were on a power trip and treated people shitty over time.
So you're asking cops to be perfect.
No, I'm asking them to be reasonable.
You are asking cops to be perfect.
No, I didn't say that.
If you're asking to get rid of that 0.001%, because that's what it is. That's what you're asking. And that's an unreasonable
not what I'm asking. Why is there so much prevalence of it if it's only a few bad apples? That's the part that's bullshit.
Because 70 is still a lot.
Not.
Like I said, the 700,000 police officers in the country, if you're seeing 70 stories about bad police officers, think about the percentages on it. Listen, I'd love to have zero. I would love to have zero.
Yeah,
okay.
You'd think they'd fire up after a
Most
one
do.
or two. No, they don't. Most do not. Until Derek Chauvin murdered that dude, George Floyd, people were not being held accountable. Cops were not being held accountable.
That's not true.
We've already witnessed multiple examples.
That's not true.
You go from division to division,
That's
precinct
absolutely
to
not
precinct.
true. That is a false statement.
We see it every single day.
That is a
It's
statement
not
straight.
false.
That's a statement straight out of the news media's mouth.
It's not a false statement.
It
It's
absolutely
happening.
is.
That's
You're
my
telling
point.
me there's the police officers before Derek Chauvin had no accountability?
Very little.
No.
Very little.
Wrong.
Very
lots of
little
quality.
accountability.
Wrong.
Yes.
Community.
That was the first cop that I can think of in my lifetime that actually went to prison for the crime he committed.
There's tons of others.
We haven't ever seen
They've
it.
made movies about it.
We
Of
haven't
course
ever
there's
seen
tons.
it. So the point
on
is,
cash.
You're not looking hard enough.
no, my point is there's not just a few bad apples.
Cognitive
That's
bias.
a bullshit excuse fed by other police officers. Why is this happening over and over and over if there's just a few?
You're being fed the worst of the worst because that's what's newsworthy.
I'll see positive things in the news as well. My point is,
Very
it's not
few.
a few bad apples.
You're not gonna
It's
see
a
any
large
positive.
majority. Criminals become hardened over time because we deal with cops often. Cops also have that same exact thing. You go to ride on, you cruise around, you target people, you do your thing, and over time you don't like dealing with us. And so you start to become hardened, and what do? The next clown that shows up to get trained, you're pushing your shit on him, and then there's a pile of you guys.
That is, again, a very irresponsible generalization. Cops do get hardened over time. Cops do get hardened over time because we see so much. If you were exposed to death on a daily basis, you would become hardened too. Now, here's the big problem, and this is going to be the big game changer. There is a lack of mental health training inside police departments. You want to know?
That's not my fault. They hired you.
When did I say it was your fault?
My point is, you can't blame it on mental
But you're not
health.
letting me get to my point. This is never going anywhere unless you let me get to the point. So here's the problem, because mental health inside police departments has a huge stigma to it. So when I got on, if I went to my boss and said, hey, listen, I'm having some really, really wicked nightmares, you know what they're going to do? They're going to take my gun, they're going to put me on desk duty, when really all I need is to go talk to somebody.
That's institutional problems on the police force. I'm talking about.
But you're asking me why we're seeing this all the time. I'm telling you
constantly. Right?
I'm telling you why.
We're also making a claim that they're honorable and selfless. I find it very interesting that honorable and selfless people have the highest divorce rate of any other profession. That seems pretty odd. They don't see a ring, not saying you're married.
I find that very interesting as well.
How many men are willing to get it tattooed on them?
A few. Most of them are criminals.
Most police officers do not racially profile black and brown people.
Well, I disagree with that. I think you guys get trained to do that. And on top of that, like, you humiliate our people, the brown and the blacks. Like, that's your job. I don't know how many months you get trained for that, but you're pretty much there to degrade us.
What training on planet Earth would have us racially profile black and brown people?
It goes without saying. I mean, that's just how you guys are, you know?
No, you said training. I want to hold you to that statement. What training do we get to racially profile black and brown people?
You said that the training, or you guys are just like that?
So I'm assuming from your statement that you've been racially profiled because you're brown.
I mean, it happened all the time. I mean, I think that's the only reason why they would stop me, because of the color of my skin. I mean, I'll just be walking down the street, especially when I'm with my kids, you know? Like, that's the part that I hated the most, being humiliated in front of my family and kids.
Okay, have you ever done anything wrong prior to this where you didn't get caught?
I'm honestly, like, I was innocent each time they stopped me.
Not when they stopped you, prior to them stopping you. You ever done anything wrong?
Of course, no one's perfect.
Okay, and so how many times would you say on a percentage did you do something wrong and they didn't stop?
Very low.
But it has happened, right?
Yeah, it has happened.
Okay, so why can't police make a claim on the other side of that they didn't get you when they should have?
No, I just feel like these cops, they don't have any remorse for our people. You know, they just come to our neighborhoods and leave, and they cause more damage than they come.
So what neighborhood are you from? Let me start there.
I'm from South Central LA.
You're from South Central LA. There's a lot of good people in South Central. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you imagine what kind of life it would be if the police were not in there? And you have certain people looking to do harm, certain people looking to do good, certain people just trying to raise. It's all good.
So the prior debaters made a claim about your training, and I heard your response was, so what neighborhood you're from? Why not community? Why the choice of word was neighborhood?
Because that's how I grew up, and we grew up by neighborhoods. If you would rather me say community, I'll not be open to the word neighborhood.
Awesome. So with that, you saying also, okay, question, you said you don't pick and choose black and brown. Why do the numbers show that the most incarcerated are black and brown?
A lot of it has to come from economics, okay? Those people with good lawyers are more likely going to be able to get off. That's the legal system. The legal system is run by human beings. And the one universal truth about human beings is they're flawed. They're flawed. So reason that there are more black and brown people in the system like that is maybe because they're of lower social economic class and they cannot afford to hire the high price attorneys.
Now, sticking to the same topic of training. Wait a minute.
I don't understand the flag shit at all.
Yeah, I like it.
Honestly, I may be opposed to a lot of people's beliefs here. I agree with you. Most cops that I've seen, if we're talking about the word most, generality, I've seen more cops be good than none. I mean, than bad. But at the same time, in Los Angeles, it's this part of this thing called the gang unit division. And majority I've seen encountered horrible cops. They put a bad name on just cops, period. And I've seen cops allow it, but honestly, I feel like I agree with you.
A couple big things in what you said. Number one, nobody hates a bad cop worse than a good cop, and that's the truth. Because that brings me to the second point, where we are all in this room. We are all judged by our lowest common denominator. If somebody with black skin did me wrong, am I going to have a favorable view against black people? Probably not. Probably not. If you had a cop treat you a certain way, are you going to have a favorable view of cops? Probably not. But most cops, I'm telling you, most cops are out there trying to do a job best they can. They're trying to go home and support their family, live the best life. What you're talking about.
What if you have?
I think you guys do racially profile us. Yeah, I give you guys that.
Sandwich.
Okay, the majority gang members are Hispanics and blacks. Okay. You got that like gang members yourself? You talk to us with slangs too.
What slang do we use?
I'm speaking codes too.
Of course we do.
Yeah. Did they teach you guys that? Just attack blacks and Hispanics?
No.
It seems like it sometimes.
See?
Most of the time.
You're
all
allowed
the time.
You're allowed to believe whatever you want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you, there is no police academy in the world that go after this race as opposed to this race.
Did they teach you guys too what's the difference between an ex-gang member and an active gang member? There are people that are gang members but change their lives too, and we're still getting pulled over.
Those are the people I love. However, if you get pulled over and you're doing nothing wrong, you need to thank the police. I'm going to tell you why. Because they're looking out for you. They're looking out for your community. I'll change my verbiage on it. They're looking out for your community in order to get those who haven't found their way, such as those reformed gang members, to try to maybe change their way, to make an impact on them. So they should be thanked.
It happens to me. I have to ask them why you pulling me over. They don't even have an answer.
Well,
most of the time they don't. Like, they don't have nothing to say. Obviously, I know because of my looks. I know.
So laws might be different in California, but in New Jersey, you always get told why you're pulled over.
I'm a clean person. You what you guys see is this and my skin color. That's all. Most of my tattoos, you guys see that. That's when you guys pull up. Yeah, but who's looking at your color?
So if I go to a neighborhood that's heavily brown or black, are people going to look at me?
The police won't almost rarely never pull you over here.
Oh, that's not true.
Yes,
that's absolutely not true because I've been pulled over.
Yeah, okay.
I was
but in a nice way, we get yelled at.
Oh,
we get
no.
Pull over. Get your hands in the air.
You're making a dangerous assumption there, my friend. That is not true. I was driving through Alpine, New Jersey, which is one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in New Jersey. I was in an Infinity, which was my buddy's car. And I got pulled over. And I got ripped out of the car. I didn't have a problem with it. If you're not doing anything wrong and you get stopped, then nothing's going to happen to you.
They do embarrass us.
You get embarrassed every day. That's stuff you got to get over.
Nah.
I got embarrassed. I got pulled out of the car.
Embarrassment.
I just wanted to touch on how you said it's embarrassing to be pulled out of your car, or it was an embarrassing thing. It's terrifying for some people, especially people that feel like they're being racially profiled and they have a disadvantage to begin with. But when I've been interacting with police, I'm terrified. It's not embarrassing, it's scary, and I'm white. So, I mean, I can imagine the way it makes like people feel it's kind of harassment. I don't think it's right, the way the cops handle situations when there's no immediate threat.
Why are you terrified?
Because it's scary. You guys are overpowered. You don't have, what are we going to do?
We don't fight fair. Police aren't paid to fight fair.
Yeah.
Okay, this isn't take off your badge and put your gun down. That's not this. This is a job.
Of course.
Our job is to protect the streets. And if we see something, we're pulling you over. We're not pulling you over for no reason. We're pulling you over because we have something.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're looking for something.
Mm-hmm.
You might not be that person, but we're looking for something. So there is no reason to be terrified. Okay? I've watched this. Cops driving down the street and parents pick their kids up. What are you teaching that kid? The fact that you're terrified is on whoever taught you to be terrified. That's on them.
Mm-hmm.
Because police are there to protect you. They're not there to terrorize you.
I just ran into some bad ones then, I guess, because I've been in the right and not done anything.
What do you do for a living?
What I do for a living? I do OnlyFans.
You do OnlyFans, okay. Are there some less than ethical OnlyFans people?
Sure, it's kind of a sex work industry, so.
It's the rule of 10%. 10% of every profession in the world is unethical.
Yeah, I don't think it's all police. I just think that, I don't know, especially when you get your partners, they're partnered up. Guys kind of have this little, I don't know. I just witnessed a lot of like high school.
Because we don't fight fair. We have radios to call other people, so we don't have to fight.
Hey, Kevin.
How are you?
Good. You seem very nice. I don't personally know if you have ever judged someone based on their race, their ethnicity, their skin color, maybe just their appearance in general. I mean, I judged you. Everyone judges appearances. The moment I saw you walk in, I knew you were the cop. You're white, American flag tattoo. You arrived early. I judged you. You judge others. We all do it.
I agree.
I think there are a lot of cases where cops are heavily influenced by those around them.
Everybody's influenced. Were you alive during 9/11?
No.
I got a front.
Yes.
I got a front row seat to 9/11. I saw the towers burning. I saw the towers fall. Now, there's a large Indian population in New Jersey. Guess who was getting it worse? Indian people, because their skin tone was similar to people who flew the airplanes into the tower. Not by cops, by everybody. Everybody side-eyed. We all did that. But if you're going to treat me with respect, you will get the utmost respect from me. And if you're going to be a dick to me, boy, I can sure be a dick. And I think that's rules to live by in everyone's life.
I can see that. But you are not all cops. You represent a small portion.
Are you racist?
No, but y'all is.
No, you said you hate cops. Are you racist?
I hate them, all of them.
All right, so
Y'all killed my cousin for no reason.
So the reason I ask if you're racist, because the definition of racism is treating a group of people differently by the way they look or what they do. Actually, it's bigotry.
Ooh.
Okay, you said you hate cops because you had a bad interaction with a cop or a small group of cops. So for you to hate a group of people by the interactions based on one person, it's irresponsible.
It is?
Yes.
You should take your own advice.
How so?
Y'all, you just talking about respect, right? Y'all don't respect us at all. At all. Just like he was saying.
That's a bold-faced lie.
It's not.
Absolutely.
It's not. Y'all judge us by just looking at us. We don't have to do nothing. We don't have to do nothing at all.
And you're 100% sure of that?
I'm 100% sure.
When you're 100% sure of something, that's when you're proved wrong.
I'm not proved wrong, baby.
Yes, you are.
We go through it every day, all day.
So throughout my career, you're telling me that every black person or brown person that I came in contact with, I treated them unfairly?
I don't know who you came in contact with, but most of y'all do.
But you just said all. Now you're going back to most.
I don't like none of y'all, to keep honest. I ain't met not one good cop yet.
So what would you do if a white person came up and said, I don't like any black people?
That's his opinion.
Just like yours.
Yeah.
Just like yours. Would you say that's an irresponsible statement? Because I would.
No. Everybody got their own opinion.
Until your opinions are changed.
I wouldn't change nothing against none of y'all. I don't like cops. Y'all treat us black and brown people very disrespectful, very different. Most of us getting killed every day.
Most of you?
Yeah, y'all just killed that lady for no reason.
What lady?
What was her name?
The one coming out with a knife?
Sonia.
You're making some very dangerous generalities.
No, I ain't.
Yes, you are.
Y'all killed my cousin.
You said
having
most.
Sex in the park.
So
He had sex with a girl in the park.
You said most.
And they assumed he had a gun by having sex in the park. How you assume somebody having a gun by having sex in the park?
I don't know, maybe he was well endowed. So you said most. 17% of the population, as I said before, is black. Okay? So that means out of 320 million, approximately 320 million people in the world, if you do the math, you're looking at about what? I don't know, let's say a nice round number. 50 to 60 million black people in the country. Okay? That's what the statistics say. Statistics aren't going to lie on that one. So most of them that would mean over 30%. It's 25 to 30 million people are getting shot by black people, or shot by cops. So your claim doesn't hold water.
Big shot flagging.
She don't want to hear about your meth. Nah.
How are you?
Good, how are you? I think that opinions and all this is good, but I was seeing how worked up she was getting, and overall it affects our lives. And that's just period point blank. It affects our lives, and that's our family, and then it starts getting into our real lives and what's reality, and it hits different. So I don't want to say we hate all cops, but when it's something that it's emotional, it's hard to let go. That's why it's a hard opinion to change.
And that's good. And that's good. That's why we're here today.
Yeah. Thank you.
My next claim is police officers should not be judged so harshly.
Why?
I think you guys should get judged even worse than anybody else. Because you guys are predators. You guys are not serving and protecting. You guys are seeking and destroying. You guys are ripping apart the very fabrics of the community, taking away our rights.
All police?
Most of you guys.
Most of us.
Most of you guys.
So over 350,000 police
Why can't
officers.
I talk?
I'm just telling you.
See
You said
what I mean?
most.
There you go.
You said most.
There you go. Just like everybody else on the field, you guys all have the same confidence. The moment you guys are like called out on your shit, quick, just like you do, you don't even let me talk.
Yes.
Whatever
You are
else.
correct, and I apologize for interrupting.
And if you guys are lying to yourselves that you guys are trying to save the world or make a difference, what are you doing with your life? You could have become a nurse, a doctor. There's oceans to clean. There's pets to save. But you choose to run around with a badge that entitles you to act higher than anybody else. Drive around and avoid traffic because you can flick the lights on. You walk around intimidating people, holding your vest, clicking your gun open the moment people invoke their rights and act hostile to you. Bro, we don't need you. We have our own rights. We have our own rights to carry. We pay our own taxes. The moment we fucked up is when we let you guys have more power than the people. The very things that you use against us, we pay for that. We pay for your salary. When you guys go out there freely acting with that badge, like you guys can get away with anything over anybody. And you guys justify it because it's your word against ours. Because you guys are supposed to be honorable people, selfless people. But you guys are not, bro. You guys can't lie to the rest of the world just as much as you can't lie to yourselves. You guys are not honorable people. You guys are predators.
Okay. All right. There's a lot to unpack there. So you've never been helped by a police officer? Never once?
Not once.
So who do you call when you don't know what to do?
To be honest with you, I've called 911, but I've been rescued by the fire department. Been extracted from a car by paramedics. But it wasn't a police officer helping.
It wasn't a police officer helping. Okay, so in smaller departments, everything is routed through the police department. So the police officers are the first ones on scene. So that one person who has no idea where to call, that's what the police are there for. Now, does it happen all the time? Obviously not. They seem to have dropped the ball in your life. And for that, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm sorry, and I'll take the hit for all police officers. I'm the one sitting here. I'm the one sitting in the hot seat. And I'm the focus of that anger that you have towards the police department. But judging everybody by your own personal experiences with one, two, maybe a couple of bad apples, of bad police officers, it's really doing a disservice to those people who do have the good intentions.
Yes, no.
See, making a general statement like that, it's wrong.
There are some good traps out there.
Why can't you guys do other things with your life?
Because we want to be police officers. We want to help.
You guys want to be predators and have a power over everybody. Like, don't lie to yourself.
No, your statement is false. It's just flat out false. Because I spent my life, and I damn near gave my life, protecting people who I don't know.
You could have done it in so many other fields.
But I did it then. but I did it. This is the way I chose to serve.
To join the very same people that are reputed to represent the communities.
From your perspective, the interactions that I've had, they are the most honorable, well-rounded, level-headed people that I know. But we've had different experiences. Hold on, now you're interrupting me though. Now you're interrupting me. You just said you don't want to be interrupted. Calling us cowards? So we're going to revert to name calling.
Does the shoe fit?
I'm going to tell you.
I'm going to 25 people to pull over one guy on the bike.
Again, this isn't about ego. It's not about ego. I'm not going to fight you fair, man. I'm not going to fight fair.
You guys got tasers before you guys can click the trigger.
I never had a taser.
You guys have nice things before you guys can shoot somebody, but yeah, you guys revert to killing people.
And there's a force continuum. There's laws in place for that.
It's just as many factors as you're bringing into the conversation that back up your side because you're a police officer. That's as many factors as every single person in this room has against the factors that you're saying make it right for you guys to act the way you guys act.
So, no.
I suck at deflection.
Hello.
I don't think any of us should be judged so harshly. We all judge. I've gotten judged a lot because of stupid things.
Okay.
When I was 16, just because it was a 5150, I didn't really commit a crime. The only thing that I wanted to do was hurt myself. But in that moment, I got treated like a criminal. And that wasn't the first. That was the first time, not the last.
Well, listen to me.
Don't touch it.
I too have been in that spot. I've had that gun in my mouth. It is not a fun place. It is an embarrassing place. But here's what I do know. When you get through that initial pain and that initial harshness of it, and you realize the strength that it took to not do it, now all of a sudden you start believing in that strength. And that becomes your power.
Sometimes people don't get that choice.
I know they don't, and it's a sad state of affairs. I've been
Talking
on
about
calls
unborn
where
babies?
people have either killed themselves or attempted to kill themselves.
There are a lot of people that have gotten killed. I was 110 pounds, 16, definitely not someone that had any power over those cops. Definitely not a reason for them to keep holding their guns, to kind of approach me very quietly, just to search me as they did, to cuff me behind my...
Not everybody has instincts.
I get that.
I swear to God. You know, and listen, I'm not minimizing. Not everybody has instincts in order to judge those feelings. And I'm sorry that happened.
There are so many kids. There was in 2020, there was a kid, Christian Hall. He was a 5150, and after holding his hands up for 14 seconds, surrendering, state troopers shot him 7 times. Nothing has happened about that.
Do you know up until about 15 years ago, police officers lacked training on what they call EDPs, emotionally disturbed persons?
I think they should get more training. I don't know how often you guys re-up that stuff. I don't know how often you guys go over it. I agree, it's not enough.
It's unacceptable.
I didn't think I was a monster.
Now you know.
Until the cops treated me like I was handcuffing me to my bed, putting security bracelets on me, sitting next to someone who chewed off his bracelet, took my food and ate it. I was 16. I was put in rooms with people that were so much older than me. There are other people that have gotten killed. I have so many loved ones that suffer from bipolar, schizophrenia. In that moment, I would not want to call the cops because I don't want to risk their lives. I don't want them to get shot. If I have other options, I'm going to take those options. And I get it. You go in blind. You don't know what you're walking into. I wish they just had better judgment and they didn't judge so harshly because of things like that. Like, just maybe read the room. There's 16.
Why don't they make those Optimus robots? Police officers. Police robots. Yeah. these formats.
Because this is becoming a growingly identifiable issue.
Yeah.
Yay!
Okay, so this last conversation brought up a lot for me. I was also like very much 50 on 50 as a kid. I was having family problems. My parents didn't want to parent me. They would call the cops and say I was trying to kill myself. I'd be in my room sobbing. I never got any real help. No one listened to me. And when I was 19, I was kidnapped, raped, brutalized for 12 hours straight. And then I was found by police. And my first reaction was, I just want to go home. I don't want to deal with this. I felt like I was being interrogated. I was taken straight to like an interrogation room. I still had like his pee on me, but no, I had to sit there and they go, oh, was it his left hand or his right hand? And I was like, I don't know. Like, there's no like trained professional that could offer me empathy, and the police were not offering me empathy. They wanted the facts, which I get, but it was so traumatizing that after I was admitted to the hospital, I came home, tried to kill myself, and told my mom I wish I didn't survive that because I didn't ask for this. I have to go through all of this. After I tried to kill myself, was I given help? No. I had to go weekly back to get pictures of my injuries, to tell them more details. And every single time, like, it was like an out-of-body experience, and
It's changing. Okay, so what police departments are starting to do now is they're bringing in training, because that police officer, they do know police officers who have asked questions like, what are you wearing? What were you wearing? Okay, and that, while that is a non-issue question for that police officer, it just wants to know what you're wearing, you're going to maybe view that as, what's he trying to say I was asking for? Right? Mm-hmm. So the new form of training when it comes to sexual assault, okay, just sexual assault, is being done from a victim's perspective or a survivor's perspective. I don't like the word victim. Okay. All right, police officers need to be trained in order to see it from your perspective. And that way they can approach you with a little bit more sensitivity. And what's going to happen if you feel a little bit more training and a little bit more understood by the police, you're going to give more information and you're going to give them a better investigation and they're going to make an arrest. So that's a wonderful thing. Okay, what happened to you was an awful thing. Unfortunately, these new things, these new techniques didn't start coming around until very recently.
I'm glad they're
Next person. I feel kind of strong on this opinion because mainly it's not that I feel like people aren't judging too harsh, because I feel like they do get judged pretty harsh, but it's not to say my tax dollars is coming out of my paycheck to pay police officers. So when a police officer does something wrong, let's say misconduct or something, they arrest somebody they shouldn't have, they get sued, that doesn't come from anybody but the tax dollars. So when I judge somebody because money is getting taken out of my check, I feel like it's fair, sir. But if it was somehow like provided by like private funding, I feel like they shouldn't be judged as harsh. If my money was going towards the police department, that's why I judge so harshly.
That's a fair statement. And I can only tell you from my own perspective, I tried to hold myself to that high standard, knowing that I was a representative of the community. Again, I took a lot of pride in it. So let me give you a little statistic here. Maybe this will put some perspective on why police officers get a little jaded. So the average person will see between 2 and 6 critical incidents, pretty much the worst day of your life, throughout their life. For a 20-year career, police officers will see upwards of 800. Your worst day times 400. That's kind of what police officers do. So that weighs on your head. It's not an excuse. What it is it's a cry for help to fix us internally, so we can avoid these lawsuits, so we can avoid your taxpayers paying for that stuff. We don't want to be a burden on the majority of us don't. Some people just don't care. But we don't want to be a burden on the community financially like that. I'd rather you say, I'm glad I pay his salary because he's one of the good ones.
I totally agree, because I play devil's advocate. I feel like generalization is just ignorance, honestly, so I don't generalize anything. There's good cops, there's good cops, there's bad cops, there's bad cops, but the bad ones cost a lot. So that's the only thing I have a problem with. But
you are 100% on that one.
Thank you.
Mario, something's calling me to bring you back up here. Because I think there's a lot on the table between you and I.
Well, I honestly think that you guys have caused more damage in my life than anything else I have ever dealt with. At the end of the day, honestly, I can't complain. You guys made me stronger. You guys made me who I am today. But I would have liked to have gone in a different way, opposed to just getting that tough love, getting sent to jail for 9 months for something I didn't do, for marijuana at that. I just feel like it's time to change all this.
You know what the beautiful thing is, brother? You and I still got some air in our lungs, right? We're not dead yet. You guys have a chance to sit down at the table and work together. And that is where things start to get fixed. You see a problem, I see a problem, so let's fix it. As long as I have air in my breath, I'm never going to give up. I will never give up on you. I don't care what you did. I don't care. Everybody has a chance to change their life. And I said this before. A true miracle is a changed life. Okay, and I like to show my kids what a true miracle is.
Well, I think the damage has been done, and there needs to be a lot of reparation, towards the people. There's a lot of pain that is still in the communities that the cops have imposed on us, and we still haven't healed. And I think we definitely need to talk about that.
And once that healing starts, you did it. You did it in your statement earlier. You went from victim to victim. I'm sure there's a million other ways that would have been beneficial to your life. The cops made you stronger. What you did is you started taking some of that power back. You stopped hating the cops so much for what they did, and now all of a sudden they don't live in your head rent free. The worst thing you can do is let anybody sit inside your head rent free. And unfortunately, some people who have been treated poorly by the police allow that to happen, rather than sit there and find the good ones and make the active change. And that's why something was calling on me to bring you over here, because I like what you're doing with the next generation. Because listen, I'm on the back nine. I'm going downhill. I don't have a whole lot of time left, but what I can do in that time is what you can do in your time left is amazing. If we start bringing that younger generation up.
Yeah, definitely. I learn from my mistakes, and I'm just trying to lead by example, and that's it. That's all I can do. I think my side can agree that we were wrong at some point.
And my side can agree that we were wrong at some point.
Well, that's a start.
That's a start. And guess what? We just take the first step, and then before you know it, you and I will be rounding mile 16 in the marathon. You gotta take off the reins.
No, they don't come out, but yeah, all right, sounds good. Sure, man.
I think the majority of the comments came from watching too many videos. They're being spoon-fed information without having to develop a lot of their own personal opinions from first-hand experience. However, those people who did have that first-hand experience, their opinions, they really impacted me more so.
I'm not upset at the cop that they brought. He's clearly a reasonable guy, and that's why, and he's good at arguing.
I could tell if he was a little more compassionate, a little more open-minded. It's not common for cops, at least what I've experienced. If he had been the person during my crisis, any one of those times, I would have felt a lot safer.
I appreciate everybody bringing up the deficiencies within the police, because believe it or not, police officers see the deficiency in the police department, and there's steps being taken actively to erase those things.
Everything that he said about how, the real good cops hate bad cops, that was like something that it hadn't caught my attention before. But I guess it's like, little by little you learn to understand, but still, you gotta agree to disagree. They hate us as much as we hate them.
Kevin was cool. He might have came off a little strong in certain little topics or whatever, but we probably feel how we feel, but just in a different way, because he's a cop.
Because Kevin is a cop, I can't see him more than that. We can't be friends. We can't go any much further than that in that aspect. And it's sad to say, but that's just how I feel. But I think today we had a breakthrough. I think we got a step in the right direction, and I think we definitely learned something from each other today.
I'm always going to be one-sided towards the police because I've done that job. But I think listening to the other side is really how you get a well-rounded perspective on something. So by approaching things with an open mind, say, hey, listen, I'm here. Teach me something. I'm not going to be resistant to it. I think you can get a lot of stuff accomplished. And I think that's how discussions should be had.
They tell me what I do and who I do it for, and how I come up with this shit up in
Nah. It's too late, probably. Copyright strike. Thanks for that. Well, you got your good cop videos and you got your bad cop videos. What do you prefer? I wonder if the camera's still going. Let's add a stop. The best Western. You are almost too far from known charging locations. Before you go to charge at the Best Western, you need to charge at the supercharger. No, we don't. Okay, we're only going to arrive at the Best Western with 9% battery life. And you're never going to make it home with negative 4% battery life. If you're a semi-truck driver, let me know in the comments below. Does it piss you off? You see a lot of Tesla drivers following you around like this? Make you nervous or something? Yeah, yesterday trying to sleep in the parking garage was not cool, yo. Every time that car would go by, the whole parking garage was shaking, earthquake. Why? must be low. Why hate the car? Slow down so much. Probably saw a shadow. Freaked out. that's up with the jury to decide if it's up to you. Jury's still out. No engine brakes. That's all I got on this mug. Well, that's all I like to use. Over 115,000 miles, still on the original brakes. Still looking great. Rechargers. Heading to the Best Western. Sushi ramen boba is really good. Kind of expensive. Ridley's Family Market. It's our family serving yours. Sonoma Realty. Okay, car turned into the parking lot on its own. Good. Car didn't hit any curbs yet. Good. Car said there was a person walking over there, but I didn't see him. There's a person. Volunteer. Alright, I'm taking it out. Because the car doesn't know that I want to go to the charging station. Because I got Model 3. It might be a Model S. Nice color. Thank you for hanging up the long cord. Model S. What do you got there? P75D? P100D. Hell yeah, bro. We did it. There will be significantly less energy available from your battery if it gets colder. We recommend charging meow. Okay. Let's go charge meow. Let's go food. 6 hours and 55 minutes. Nope, not saying 8 hours and 30 minutes. Before I'll be at full charge. Starting at 10%. Okay. Let's see if the camera's still recording. What'd you think? Not too bad. Okay. Thanks for watching.